All right, Thursday morning, bright and early, Ken and I are heading back to SeaTac Airport once again. I got a call from a gentleman late last week with his father's guitar. That is absolutely incredible. We fly out in about an hour and a half, and yeah, I'll show you guys what we're talking about. So a nice, easy flight to Las Vegas, Nevada. It's hot out here, man. Last time Ken and I were here, we picked up a 1960 Les Paul Burst. So Las Vegas has been really fruitful for vintage guitars over the years, and this is no exception. So excited about this instrument and just kind of meditating on it and, you know, leaving it up to the stars to kind of guide us on this one. It's such an important guitar to the family. We're here to honor that, tell its story. Obviously very excited to see this thing, but it's a big guitar in a lot of different ways, so excited to see it. Anyways, we're gonna jump in a cab, we're gonna go meet up with Brandon, the son of the original owner. Hey Brandon, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you today?
Good. We just landed. Actually, I think we're about 10 minutes away, so
Okay.
I got the gate codes and all that, so I'll shoot you a text when we're just pulling up, okay?
Great. See you soon.
All right, see you soon. Brandon, hey, what's up, man? Good to meet you. Trevor, how you doing, man?
Great to meet you.
This is Ken.
Nice to meet you.
Super excited to see this really special guitar we've been hinting at, and yeah, man, let's check it out.
Let's check it out.
So we're gonna get into this, but this is Brandon's dad's original 1936 Martin D-28. Feel the magic.
Everywhere you went, man, this was in his arm. We was traveling on the road. This came inside the hotel. This came inside the motel.
All right, I'm gonna let you pick it up. I'm gonna take all my rings and unnecessary jewelry off before I touch that thing. Gosh, that's what you wanna see in one of those, old man. I mean, 1936 is peak year for the D-28, and they're already, you know, textbook, just amazing guitars, but this, to have one with this story we're gonna get into, it's just...
You know, he had a lot of guitars, but this was always the one, as you can imagine.
Yeah, you can see that, man. Wow. It's nothing like old Martins, man. He did the classic upgrade, you know, Sperzel tuners, which if you were playing the thing, that's what you did, you know? It's like, he was a true player and songwriter, and...
He wrote every song he ever wrote with it, and you know, even in his later years, you know, he loved it, but he knew it needed to be played, so.
You know, sometimes you see these old Martins and you get excited, but you pick them up and you can't play them. They need a neck reset, the action's that high, the bridge is put up. This guitar plays incredible.
It was his pride and joy. He all his instruments he took great care of, but this one, you know, like I said, he guarded it with his life.
Wow. Just amazing, man. You can just tell he played the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So what era? I mean, that looks 70s, right?
This has got to be 70s. Yeah, a couple of him doing what he loved. There's that double neck too in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had to have been about maybe 76, somewhere in there.
Don the Henley style Eagles SG 12 string, man. Those are cool.
This might have been in San Diego, Red Coat Inn maybe. Kind of a famous stomping grounds there.
And then this, I mean.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
That's one of the coolest owner and guitar pictures I've ever seen. He's a good looking guy, man.
He's a good looking guy. He's a good looking guy. Met my mom with that guitar, and the rest is history. That's got to be about 1955, 56. That's at the beginning.
Looks like you, man. You guys got the same eyes. That's amazing.
Certainly when I was that age, we looked a lot alike.
All the pick marks on it, I just love, man.
I kind of felt like it was just the right amount, you know. You could tell it's been well played, but not so beat up that.
Yeah, it's oddly loved with all that like there's no. I mean, the back is really evenly worn. The neck is in great shape, but that's inevitable, you know. All right, so we need to go through a couple of these photos over here. I keep on. I'm like,
I got too many.
Gosh.
I got too many. I thought
this is incredible.
Yeah, growing up in San Diego, that was the dream.
A Western shirt. And we were geeking out on that guitar, a double neck Gibson Les Paul, probably with PAF pickups. Looks like a Bandmaster over there. That's got to be looks like a Sparkle Rhodes. All the old EV Electra or Shure microphones. Sorry. A xylophone?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. I like to hear what they were playing.
I know, man.
Right?
And that is, okay.
And it makes me think of this album, that vinyl there. This is more of the traditional early stuff. And then this is later in the 60s. And the sounds are a little more unique, a little different. He and I listened to it together a few years back. And even he was like, wow, that was, we were doing some different sounds. Before it was a lot of, Beach Boys, harmonies, and then they were expanding their sound a little bit and trying new stuff. A lot of experimentation, I guess, is what I'm saying, yeah.
So not only is this just obviously a 1936 Martin D-28, peak, pre-war Martin D-28, Brandon's dad, Eddie Preston, or Eddie Snyder at the time, right?
Right.
Was one of the founding members of the Cascades, who, massive hit, and toured the world, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain, telling me just what a fool I've been. I wish that it would go and let me cry in vain, and let me be alone again.
Legendary song, and obviously, brought him all over the world. Did that guitar go with him?
I don't think he brought those. He was pretty protective. So some of the abroad stuff, I think it would have stayed home.
I kind of figured. I doubt it would be in that, it's in really cool played shape, but it's like, back then, if you're shipping that thing around,
He might have, but I have a feeling he probably left it at home. But they were traveling around doing, they did the USO tours through Guam, the Philippines, all during Vietnam. They loved it.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Rhythm of the Rain, look at that.
There's his dad on the right. There's Tony Grasso. There's Dave Wilson on drums. BMI came out in 1999 of the 100 most airtime songs of the century, and Rhythm of the Rain was number 9. I was like, well, it wasn't that big of a hit, but just the airtime, the amount of play it got, it was so much that it was 9th for the century.
Everybody's heard that song. Even when we were first talking, I'm like, Rhythm of the Rain, okay. Then I put it on, I'm like, That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, right.
And it was covered also by a few people I know too, but Cascades were the ones who made it the hit that it was, which is really cool.
Yeah, credit to John Gameau, the writer, and Dad was the leader of the group, and yeah, their dreams came true. I mean, they were traveling the world, they were traveling the country, the Beach Boys, Roy Orbison, the Stones, they opened, you know, I mean, they were doing it in the 60s, yeah.
And how old was he?
He was in his 20s. He was in his 20s. I mean, Rhythm of the Rain broke when he was probably about 23. My dad was born in 1941 in Bonita, which is San Diego, east side San Diego. Born to a kind of a single mother, small little house. She'd come from Oklahoma. They had a lot of love in the small house, and somewhere around 1950, he awoke one morning and he literally couldn't hold his head straight. And they didn't know what was wrong. And I come to find out that he had contracted polio. Back then, there was not a lot you could do, and it would hit people in different parts of their body, but his was his neck, and so there was a couple-year stretch where he couldn't physically hold his head up. You can imagine what that would do to, you know, the developmental years of a young man. Long story short, they ended up doing an experimental surgery, a muscle graft surgery. They took muscles out of his chest and arms and put it and recreated his mastoids. It was when he was recovering from this surgery that his industrious mother, my grandmother, Juanita, turns on the radio, and on the radio was Little Richard wailing the intro to Tutti Frutti, and that was it. Juanita, of course, she'd push out the furniture and dance, and they'd celebrate, and that kind of lit a passion for him, and he fell in love with music. And as he got a little stronger, a little better, Juanita started shopping and looking around for a guitar. And in a local shop, she found this guitar, and she bought it on payments, kind of like a layaway back in the day. And for his 9th grade graduation, this was the gift. So that would have been about 1955, and he had it, and it's been the family ever since. He was playing it. Every day he would be on. You know, there was no television, there was no phones, there was no PlayStation. I mean, this is it. This is your toy for the next 10 years, right? It was then that Uncle Preston, Juanita's brother, started looking at this kid playing for the family and said, "And make some beer money off of this kid, man." And so he'd take him around the bars, pass the cowboy hat around. He'd be playing his heart out, and him and his buddies would drink the tips, and Dad got playing time. It wasn't long after that they had a talent show in the same high school where he was kind of, you know, bullied and not treated real well when he was handicapped, and he entered the talent show and he won the talent show. And those same kids that were giving him a hard time as a freshman, as a senior, they were flipping out in the aisles, screaming, and like he got that feeling. I mean, once you get that feeling, there's no going back. He also got chosen, and he flew out to New York City as a young man alone, and he was on the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. It was like the America's Got Talent of the 50s. He had a trio at one point. He had a group called, I think it was Eddie Preston Unlimited, John Gameau, Eddie Snider, Dave Wilson, and then Tony Grosso came a little bit later, and they become the Cascades. And it wasn't too long after that where they had Rhythm of the Rain, and that was, you know, a huge hit. Million copies sold. It allowed them to travel the world. They did USO tours during Vietnam. They were in Iceland, they were in Scandinavia, they were in Guam, Thailand. They were landing on aircraft carriers, entertaining the troops. He loved it. I mean, he was in heaven. But yeah, when they would come back, they'd come back to San Diego. They were the kings of San Diego of the day, and people knew the Cascades in town, and the Red Coat Inn was like the spot. And one night, my dad's playing in the crowd. He sees this lovely lady sitting there, and he was bold, man, like a stage performer would be. And near the end of the show, he walks off the stage, through the crowd, up to this lady, sits in her lap, and says, "You know, a man could get to thinking serious about a woman that looks like you." And that, here I am. But his whole life, whenever he had something inside, he would go back to the Martin and he would write, and it was a tool for what was inside of him to come out. Love and loss and heartache and having a son and having a stepson. It all, you know, he'd go back to the Martin. He was not the traveling wild man, didn't drink, didn't smoke. He was really about the craft. We used to tell him all that, Dad, your voice is so beautiful, your guitar, just go on stage with the Martin and a stool and just play. And he'd say, no, he wouldn't have it. He wanted the show to be 100%. It didn't matter if he was in a 5-star resort, which sometimes he was, or a pub on the corner, which other times it was. Every time he had to have the full lighting rig set up. He had all the speakers, he had everything, and then he hit the stage, his stage clothes. And I'd be like, why do you dress like that? You don't gotta, look at everybody in the crowd. And he said, no. Like, it's all the way or nothing at all. And he had such a pride about it that, you know, later I really kind of got it. I have his song book, but he told me I don't even need it anymore. And he would just take requests and he would just play it. And it was pretty cool. It was all about the next gig and keeping that calendar full and traveling from town to town. And, you know, I look at it now and I view it as such an honest living. I mean, he rolled into town with his big van, he set up, he played his heart out, and they gave him an envelope with cash and it was on to the next. Cash is king. One time they gave him a check and he was not happy. I was like, what's the big deal? It's a check. He's like, no. He would call me, I'm in Anaconda, Montana. I'm in, Missoula. I'm in Anacortes. I'm Seattle. I'm back home for a few weeks. And it was the best. He would roll in and I'd be in like junior high or high school and I knew Dad was picking me up. I mean, he would finish in like Butte, Montana, load till 3 a.m., drive all night long to get to my high school at 2:15, to be there for me and take me to a movie and take me to the arcade and show me a good time. And the best is that he'd take me on the road with him. So, everybody else was getting off, high school for the weekend and whatever, playing a game and doing what they do. I was like counting the minutes to go on the road. We got a gig in Wenatchee, and he would pick me up and we'd have a couple big gulps and it was like I-90, He'd play till 1 in the morning and he showed me, I got tips. I sold 3 CDs. It was a good night, and it also taught me that, money isn't everything. Doing what you love and your lifestyle, that's everything. So my dad, he exemplified hard work, love. His dad was kind of in and out of the picture, and so he knew that if he had a family or if he had a son, they're gonna know and they're gonna feel how much he loves them. He had a stepdad for a while named Tom, who showed him a lot of love and a lot of encouragement in his music. And so he wrote a song named Tom, but it was for my brother, and it says, now there's this little guy I know, he came to me with his mom, and it could mean the world to me if I could be his Tom. It's just, to me, that's the legacy, a lot more than, frankly, a gold record is cool, but that, to me, that's what sticks out. It's been a real emotional process to get to this decision, and it didn't come lightly. At first, I felt very possessive of it. It's this history and this everything I've explained, and the stories and the lyrics and the songs, and but ultimately, it's a beautiful instrument that's meant to be played. And I would ask Dad, like, Dad, what do I do with what should I do with it, And he'd always told me it should be with somebody who loves it and plays it and cherishes it. And if I'm being honest, I don't play it. And while I love it like something I gotta protect. It's something like I'm a steward of. It doesn't really feel like mine. I'm really more just literally guarding it. That's what I feel like. And the thought of somebody else looking at it and loving it and playing it and maybe even creating with it, it's just, I can't get that out of my head. That's been my guiding light. And I use the analogy, it's like having this beautiful horse and it never leaves the barn. I mean, it's been in the closet a lot. And, and part of what drew me to Emerald City Guitars and you is the opportunity to kind of explain the story and kind of honor him and the guitar together in that way. And yeah, I think it's time. When Dad got older and he couldn't really play anymore, I took all his favorite guitars, I mounted them on the wall around him in his room. And sometimes I would come over, I'd come on the door to check on him, and the TV's not on. That's unusual. And I go up and he'd just be sitting there. And I smile. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Just enjoying my guitars." He would just sit and bask with his instruments. And I thought, man, that's love, man. I found it really interesting that he contracted this illness, polio, as a child, and the guitar was his hobby and his rehab as he healed and grew. When he stopped playing and he retired, it wasn't 8 months he got cancer, and he was quite sick, and we went through what's called a stem cell transplant at the Steve Hutchinson Center in Seattle. And as he was recovering in the hospital, we had another Martin. He had a baby Martin, and so he would play the baby Martin for the nurses and try to, charm him to maybe let him out a little earlier. But it was I find it interesting that on both ends of his life, kind of bookend with these illnesses, and both times he was playing a Martin. He hadn't played in a lot of years, and I was a little shy about asking because I knew he was very much a perfectionist. He wanted everything to be great, just like the lighting and the stage presence. But I said, "Dad, I finally just want you and a stool and the Martin, and would you please, for my wedding, sing a couple of your songs?" And of course he agreed. I could tell he was a little nervous, and so he got out the Martin, and he was practicing and kind of getting his fingers loosened up a bit. He hadn't played a lot, but and so at the wedding he played Dreams, which he wrote with my mother, and he wrote Through My Eyes, which was a song he wrote for me. And it was incredible, and it was really cute because as shy as he was and bashful as he was, afterwards I went up to him, I gave him a big hug, and I said, "You were incredible." He says to me, "I think if I'd done Rhythm of the Rain, I could have really brought the house down." I said, okay, calm down. He was just like the old performer, the old fire was coming back, and I love that, But that was the last time, that I saw him play it. From then on, it was really just kind of protecting it. I'm excited to pass it on to the next owner, but if I'm honest, it'll always be with me because I got it right here.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome,
with the album, so it'll always be with me.
You have the wear on it too.
Yeah.
Did you bring this thing in?
I had brought it in.
For
yeah.
real?
Yeah, I had it like this in the tattoo shop, but we got in our room, and my gal, she's the best, and we did it. Took a long time, but I see it every day. So.
Well, brother, it has been an absolute honor celebrating
Thank you.
your dad and your life with it too, man. You were there the whole time, bringing, this has impacted more than just Eddie Preston. I mean, his family and
I know he would love this too. He told me as much. At the end, he said that it's got to be played, it's got to be loved, and so this is what we're doing. It's been 70 years in the family, but I felt for a while now it's time for the next chapter, so I'm excited.
Well, I promise you we're going to find the right home for this old guitar, right?
Cool.
Thanks, man. Talk to you in a couple days, all right?
Bye now. As I was gathering some of the materials for today and his writings and all his songs, I found it's more of a poem. It's unfinished, but it's a sort of a song, but it's called On Higher Ground. As I look back on this life of mine, I have no regrets. The hurts and pains taught me oh so much, lessons I'll never forget. The love we've shared turned my life around. It made a better man out of me, and each day I give thanks for you in my life. Without you, I don't know where I'd be. When I come to the end of the world I'd known, and look back on the treasures I've found, of all the things I've done in my life, you'll be on higher ground. I had dreamed of riches and fame for me, but they were never to be. I searched the world over for the meaning of life, all the while it was here with me. I just found that today, just kind of like,